Hi, Lisa. I thought I would just try going through a screencast and just pointing to stuff with my mouse rather than trying to explain all of this in writing. So just kind of follow my mouse or my cursor around and I'll explain. I went by the house today to double check the existing electrical plan, and I'm sure glad I did because there were a lot of things that were wrong, and I'm just going to go room by room, okay? So on the first floor, you'll see I used the vanity light symbol. I'm not exactly sure what image or what symbol is right, but there are two single can wall-mounted exterior lights, one above each door. So my image here would suggest that there's two lights, but there's really just a single light above each door. I was going to ask if you would, you see I circled this right here. Anywhere that you have the dollar symbol sign for the light switch, like here, make it perpendicular to the wall as opposed to parallel to the wall. So if you would turn this 90 degrees so it's running that way. And there are a few other places that I'll mention that, like here is one that needs to be turned, if you would, just so that we can see it. And then I'll come back down here to this room. So there's actually two outlets here. There's a 220 and there's another outlet that's in the baseboard, which is why I wrote the word base there. I'm not really sure how to reflect that on the symbol. And one thing else I want to mention is you see how blurry the printout is. That's because the size of the image that you sent me was a little smaller. Maybe it'll be a bigger one when the final, but I just wanted to mention that I'd like to have a higher resolution so that these are clearer to see. Also in this room, this outlet that's correct in its location is in the baseboard. I don't know if there's a way for you to indicate that on the ones that are in the baseboard, but I'd like to. Going into this next room, this says, my handwriting's terrible, but that says open wires. There are actually some wires in this wall that are just hanging out in the open in the room. And so I want to make sure and notate that somehow. And then this is a light switch. It's actually right up against this door, and I wanted you to move it over and turn it 90 degrees. The light in every room, I know that the handwritten version that you got originally was mislabeled. So this should be centered in the room about here. Same thing here, same thing here, and then in this hallway from here to here, this light should be centered, which is probably about right there. So that's why that says center. Going into this room, I think I already mentioned that just needs to be turned 90 degrees. And then going into the bathroom, this vanity light is actually more like right here. You can leave that light where it is. It's kind of in a weird place. But this vanity light or above the mirror light should be about right here. Disregard my notes here about new window. That was just a note to myself that I need to put in a new window there. There's actually an electrical panel right here. And then these are all outlets. This 1, 2, 3 outlets that were missing from the plan, as well as the 220 outlet that's right here. So there's 4 outlets in this room that were not recorded in the original notes. And then the switch here, I want to turn that 90 degrees, but notice that I put ×2. So there's actually 2 of those. There's 2 sets of switches. There's a double switch here. And then this just says under window, so this outlet is actually underneath the window. In this room, there's not a switch right there. There's actually a panel. So I've written panel to indicate that. The switch in this room is actually right here. And then you can see there's a 220 over here underneath the window. And I wrote over here, both kitchens are 3 feet up. So on the old plan, these were 2 kitchens in a duplex, or one building with 2 units, 2 flats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These 7 outlets are all 3 feet off the ground rather than the normal height. The 220s are on the ground. I don't know if there's a way for you to use a symbol on the legend to indicate that, but I would like to come up with some way to show that those 7 outlets are 3 feet off the ground instead of the normal 18 inches, I think it is normal here. On the back porch, there is a flood lamp here. and then a ceiling mount here. So I'd like to notate both of those. And then lastly, let's see, coming down into this bedroom, the light switch is here. There's nothing here. And then in the bathroom, in addition to this ceiling mount, there's also a vanity light here. And in this room, there is no outlet here. There's an outlet here. That switch is correct, except it's a double switch. So if you would put $2 signs there. And then this outlet is actually a 220, which maybe that needs some explanation. But we have 110 and 220 circuit in the U.S. And so a normal outlet like this one is 110 volts, and then this one is a 220 volts. So the symbol is the same, except it has a third line in the middle. So like that's one line, that's a second line, and then right down the middle there's a third line. I think everything in the UK is 220, but we have 110 and 220. So if you would notate that. And then outside there's a switch here, and then there's a light above the door, and it's a single as well, just like these, but I didn't know how to notate that. I'm going to pause there. I'll do the second floor here in a second.